There's a guy in every city who charges $800 an hour and delivers absolutely nothing. And there's a woman somewhere making $18 an hour who is single-handedly keeping an entire organization from collapsing. One of them thinks they're valuable. The other one is valuable. And society, in its infinite wisdom, is paying the wrong one more money. Welcome to the difference between being expensive and being valuable, two things that our culture has decided are the same thing, and two things that could not be more dangerously different. We've been running a collective hallucination for about 50 years now. The hallucination goes like this: price equals worth. Cost equals quality. Expensive equals good. It started with luxury goods, which fine, whatever, a $4,000 handbag is a $4,000 handbag, and if someone wants to spend their money on stitched leather as a personality substitute, that's between them and their therapist. But somewhere along the way, we started applying this logic to people. We started assuming that someone who bills more must know more. That someone who charges $50,000 for a keynote speech must have $50,000 worth of insight. That the consultant who flies business class and has a waiting list must actually be better than the one who answers your emails the same day. And listen, sometimes they are. Sometimes price and value genuinely align. The universe occasionally gets it right. But often you're just paying for the performance of value, the aesthetics of expertise, the costume of competence. And in 2026, that costume has never been more expensive, more convincing, or more hollow. Let me tell you what expensive really is underneath all the branding. Expensive is a signal. That's it. That's the whole thing. When something costs a lot, the price itself communicates information. I am serious. I am exclusive. I am not for everyone. And human brains, wired for tribal status games since the Pleistocene, read that signal and go, must be good. This is why wine tastes better when you're told it's expensive. This is not metaphor, there are brain scans. The actual neurological experience of pleasure increases when price increases. Your brain is literally lying to you in real time, and it's doing it enthusiastically. Expensive is also a filter. A high price tag removes the clients, customers, or patients who would waste your time, second-guess everything, and then leave a 3-star review because the parking was inconvenient. It signals commitment. It selects for seriousness. So expensive isn't wrong necessarily. It can be a legitimate strategy. It can even be useful. But here's the critical distinction. Expensive is about positioning. Valuable is about impact. Expensive is what you charge. Valuable is what happens after you leave the room. Here's the thing about value that nobody wants to hear. Value is ruthlessly, almost offensively, objective. Not in a philosophical sense. In a practical sense. Value is, did the situation improve because you were in it? Did the problem get solved? Did the revenue go up? Did the person feel better? Did the project ship? Did something that needed to happen happen? That's it. That's the whole scorecard. And this is deeply uncomfortable because we live in a world that has become extraordinarily skilled at decoupling effort from outcome, presence from impact, and busyness from results. We have entire professional classes built around the appearance of value. The consultant who produces a 200-slide deck that says everything and changes nothing. The life coach whose clients feel inspired for 72 hours and then return exactly to baseline. The executive who attends every meeting, speaks authoritatively, and has somehow been at the company for 11 years without a single traceable decision improving anything. These people are not frauds necessarily. They believe in what they're doing. They work hard. They're often lovely at dinner. They're just not valuable. They're expensive. Let's talk about what 2026 has done to this particular problem. Social media, and specifically the visual economy of Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn personal branding, and the entire ecosystem of personal brand as product, has essentially industrialized the production of expensive-looking, value-optional human beings. You can now build a following, a waiting list, a premium price point, and a seven-figure business entirely on the strength of your aesthetic and your narrative, without delivering anything measurable to anyone. You just need the right fonts, the right lighting, the occasional screenshot of a wire transfer, a story about hitting rock bottom and then discovering the system that changed everything, a free webinar that's really a 90-minute sales pitch, a mastermind that's really a group of people paying to be near someone who paid to be near someone else. I am not even being cruel. This is just the market functioning as designed. The market rewards what it can see. Value is often invisible. Expensive is extremely photogenic. So the person who quietly fixed the back-end architecture that was about to take down the entire platform. Invisible, the person who filmed themselves journaling in the morning light with a caption about their $10,000 month. Front page. We optimized for the signal and forgot to ask about the substance underneath it. This part is for a specific group of people, and you know who you are. You are the person who consistently solves the problems everyone else gave up on. You're the one they call when something's actually on fire, not for the strategy session, for the fix. You're often the most knowledgeable person in the room, and somehow also the most poorly compensated person in the room. You don't self-promote well. The idea of packaging yourself makes you vaguely nauseous. You believe, on some deep level, that good work speaks for itself. Here's the hard truth: good work speaks for itself eventually, if it speaks at all. And sometimes it never does, because someone louder showed up first and took credit for the general direction of the wind. Valuable people who cannot signal their value are functionally invisible in a market that runs on signals. This is not fair. It is also completely irrelevant because the market does not care about fairness, it cares about visibility. You need to learn the language of expensive, even if you find it mildly offensive, because that's the only way to protect and transmit the value you're actually carrying. Charge more. Name your outcomes explicitly. Make your results visible. Stop apologizing for your expertise in environments that are actively benefiting from it. This is not selling out. This is speaking the only language the room understands. And now's the other group. You know this person. You might be this person, in which case this is going to be a somewhat uncomfortable few minutes. This is the person who has built an entire professional identity around premium positioning, the rates, the brand, the carefully cultivated scarcity, but who, if you actually audit the outcomes, has a somewhat complicated relationship with evidence. Their clients feel good. Their testimonials are glowing. Their methodology has a name, possibly a trademark, possibly an acronym. They speak in frameworks. Everything has 3 steps and a proprietary process. But if you ask what specifically changed and how do you know, the answer tends to get philosophical quite quickly. The expensive but not valuable person has usually solved one specific problem. They've figured out how to monetize the feeling of being helped rather than the fact of being helped. And listen, feelings matter. Placebo is real. Confidence has genuine downstream effects. I'm not dismissing this entirely, but there's a limit. And a lot of premium-priced people are operating well past that limit on sheer narrative momentum and social proof that's more circular than it appears. The reckoning comes. It always comes. Usually when a client wants to measure something. You want to be valuable. Here's what it actually takes, and it's more annoying than any framework I could sell you. 1. Be irreplaceable in a specific context, not generally impressive. Generically impressive is cheap in 2026. Everyone has credentials. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a methodology. The person who is irreplaceable in this specific situation to this specific problem, that's where actual value lives. Niche down until it's uncomfortable, then niche down again. 2. Measure your own impact before someone else has to. Valuable people track outcomes. They know what changed because of what they did. They can say, before I arrived, X. After I arrived, Y. If you can't articulate this, you don't know your own value, which means you definitely can't communicate it, and you probably can't replicate it. 3. Make complexity simple, not complicated. The expensive move is to make simple things sound complex. It signals expertise, creates dependency, justifies the invoice. The actually valuable move is the opposite. Take the genuinely complex thing and make it navigable. That's the harder skill. That's the one worth paying for. 4. Have a point of view that costs you something. Safe opinions are worthless. Everyone has safe opinions. The expert who tells you what you want to hear has a business model. It's called repeat clients who never actually improve. The person who tells you what's true at the risk of your disapproval. That's rare. That's valuable. That's also, frankly, why most people avoid doing it. So here's where we land. Expensive and valuable can overlap. They do sometimes. The best version of a career, a business, a professional identity is one where what you charge reflects what you actually deliver, where the signal and the substance are genuinely aligned. But they are not the same thing. And pretending they are is costing you in one direction or the other. If you're expensive without being valuable, you're operating on borrowed time. The market eventually figures it out. It's slow, agonizingly, infuriatingly slow, but it does figure it out. If you're valuable without being expensive, you're operating as a subsidy for everyone around you. You're gifting your most finite resource, your expertise, your problem solving, your time, at a discount that doesn't reflect its actual weight. And then you're wondering why you're exhausted and overlooked. The goal is not to be expensive. The goal is not even just to be valuable. The goal is to be valuable enough and visible enough and confident enough in what you actually deliver that the price reflects the reality. That's the alignment. That's the work. Everything else is just aesthetics.